June 4th, 1942, 7 o'clock hours. Northern Pacific Ocean, 240 miles northwest of Midway Atoll. The sea is almost flat, a dull steel gray, stretching endlessly beneath low clouds that smell of fuel and salt. On the flight deck of the Japanese aircraft carrier Akagi, boots strike metal in sharp, disciplined rhythms. Engines cough, then roar. The air vibrates. Signal flags snap in the wind. Below deck, hangar crews move like clockwork, wheeling aircraft nose to tail. Nakajima B-5 and Kate. Torpedo bombers sit armed and waiting, their bellies heavy with bombs. Aichi D-3A Val dive bombers glisten with condensation. Everything is ready. Everything is controlled. Admiral Chuchi Nagumo, commander of the 1st Air Fleet, stands on the bridge. Calm, measured. He has done this before. Pearl Harbor proved it. The Indian Ocean proved it. Everywhere the Kido Butai sails. Enemies burn. 4 fleet carriers dominate the morning. Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, the most powerful naval striking force ever assembled. Veteran pilots. Perfect coordination. Absolute confidence. To the Japanese command, the Pacific War is already decided. Midway is merely a formality. Far ahead, a second wave of aircraft has just returned from bombing the tiny atoll. Reports come in. The airfield is damaged, but not destroyed. American aircraft are still operating. Nagumo frowns. Orders are given. Below deck, crews begin rearming planes originally prepared for anti-ship strikes. Torpedoes are removed. High explosive bombs are rolled into place. Fuel lines hiss. Sweat drips onto steel decks slick with gasoline vapors. This takes time. Time no one thinks they are running out of. Above the fleet, Japanese Combat Air Patrol, Zeros, circle confidently. They've already beaten back several clumsy American attacks. Torpedo squadrons from Hornet Enterprise and Yorktown have come in low and slow and been slaughtered. Pilots watch enemy planes fall into the sea like broken birds. Victory feels close. Inevitable. On Akagi, officers relax just slightly. Some light cigarettes. Others sip water. The Americans are disorganized, desperate, beaten. What they do not see, what no one on the Japanese carriers sees, are the dots forming high above the clouds. At 20,000 feet, 3 squadrons of SBD Dauntless dive bombers from USS Enterprise and USS Yorktown are lost, low on fuel, unsure the enemy fleet is even there. Lieutenant Commander Wade McCluskey scans the empty ocean. The pressure is crushing. Turn back now, and the carriers escape. Push on, and there may be nothing. Then he sees it. A single Japanese destroyer, Arisher, racing north at flank speed. A clue. McCluskey turns his aircraft. Others follow, above the Japanese fleet. The Zeros are drawn low, chasing the last American torpedo plane skimming the waves. The sky above them is suddenly empty. Too empty. On the flight decks below, planes are still being refueled. Bombs lie stacked in neat rows. Fuel hoses snake across the hangar floors. The carriers are at their most vulnerable moment. No alarms sound yet. No one looks straight up. And then, a shout, a finger pointing skyward. Black shapes break through clouds. Nose down. Sirens begin to wail. Too late. The first Dauntless hits the air like a falling stone. Wings slicing the gray sky. From the bridge of Akagi, Admiral Nagumo squints through binoculars. At first, he thinks it's reconnaissance. Then the bombs streak past the deck, trailing smoke, impossible precision. The crew freezes. Time fractures. Dive, dive, a voice screams. But the planes are already committed. Hundreds of feet above, pilots lock their sights on the decks below. They release their payload with precision only forged through endless training and desperation. On the hangar decks, sailors dive aside. Fuel lines hiss. Bombs roll uncontrollably. Screams echo in steel corridors. The first bomb hits the Akagi's flight deck. Metal buckles. With splinters. Fire erupts instantly, licking upward with yellow-orange tongues. The scent of burning aviation fuel fills the air. Smoke thickens, twisting like living serpents around the bridge and funnels. Above the chaos, Lieutenant Commander McCluskey sees 4 carriers. The prize targets, spread out like jewels. Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu, all at their most vulnerable, all oblivious to what's about to strike. The dive bombers spread, one after another. The Japanese CAP-0 scramble are too low, too far from altitude advantage. Torpedo squadrons had drawn them down, and now the dauntless planes have the sky to themselves. The moment of reckoning has arrived. On Kaga, a bomb tears through the deck amid dozens of fuel planes. Pilots still seated in their cockpits are engulfed in fire. Screeching metal explosions and the stench of burning rubber and fuel dominate. Sailors who attempt to fight the flames find themselves pushed back by intense heat. Akagi lurches as another bomb strikes the port side. The carrier shudders violently. Aircraft tilt, wheels broken, wings crumpled. Officers stumble, clutching rails. Admiral Nagumo grips the bridge, face ashen. He had believed the Americans incapable of reaching his fleet at this altitude, at this timing, in this weather. He had been wrong, catastrophically wrong. On Soryu, alarm scream. The hangar is ablaze in minutes. Sailors throw water, then fire hoses. Nothing works. The inferno spreads upward, devouring planes on the deck. Smoke and flame block visibility. A pilot's scream pierces the chaos as the deck collapses under the heat. Across the formation, Hiryu is momentarily untouched. Nagumo's eyes flicker toward it, a sliver of hope. But even as he turns, bombs from a second wave streak downward. The sequence is a symphony of destruction, each explosion a hammer blow to Imperial naval pride. Below deck, crewmen struggle to release trapped planes and ordnance, but fire spreads faster than anyone can react. Oil and fuel vapors ignite in micro-explosions, throwing men across corridors, leaving them stunned and bleeding. Smoke chokes lungs. Heat sears skin. On the horizon, the sea is black with oil, debris, and burning wreckage. Bodies float past lifeboats that were never launched. The calculated certainty of the Kido Butai is gone, replaced by raw panic. The most powerful carriers in the world are dying in sequence. The final Dauntless prepares its dive. McCluskey's voice crackles over the radio, urging precision. Steady, steady drop. 6 minutes. That is all it took. Smoke rises like a living storm from Akagi and Kaga, black plumes curling against the pale morning sky. The heat is unbearable even from the bridge. Sailors shout orders over the roar of fire and explosions, but the voice of command is swallowed by the chaos. Metal groans. Decks twist. Planes erupt into flames, their bombs detonating in unpredictable showers of shrapnel. On Akagi, the carrier tilts slightly, then righted by counterweights and ballast, but the damage is irreparable. Hangar decks are consumed. Pilots trapped in cockpits are caught in the inferno. One officer throws himself overboard, landing in the churning sea, only to struggle against burning oil and debris. The smell of charred wood and aviation fuel is suffocating, mingling with the metallic tang of blood. Meanwhile, on Kaga, the fires are even more severe. Bombs, stacked for rearming aircraft, detonate in rapid succession. Structural beams collapse with terrifying crunches. Sailors scramble in every direction, some engulfed by flames, others thrown into the water by the force of explosions. The once perfect formation of the Japanese carriers is disintegrating, turning into a graveyard of steel and fire. Above, Lieutenant Commander McCluskey guides a squadron to the haze, eyes fixed on Soryu and Hiryu. The Japanese fighters are scrambled but disoriented, exhausted from earlier engagements. They struggle to reach altitude in time. In a flash, the Dauntless begin their dive. Altitudes plummeting, air roaring past, bombs locked onto their targets. Hiryu attempts evasive maneuvers. Anti-aircraft guns fire incessantly, spitting death into the sky. Shrapnel tears through wings and fuselages of the diving planes. One Dauntless is hit, its tail sheared off, spiraling into the ocean. Yet others press on, unyielding, carrying the fate of the Pacific on their wings. On Soryu, the first bomb detonates on flight deck. The explosion flings men, planes, and equipment into the sky. Fire spreads like a living entity, devouring everything. Sailors try desperately to counter the flames with hoses, buckets, anything at hand. But the inferno is relentless. Smoke and ash blot out the sun. Chaos reigns. From the water, destroyers nearby try to maneuver closer, but debris and burning oil fields make navigation deadly. Lifeboats and rafts bob among wreckage as men struggle to survive. Even as fire rages, sailors risk everything to rescue comrades, forming human chains in a desperate bid for life. Admiral Nagumo, on the bridge of Hiryu, is frozen. The unthinkable is happening. His 4 carriers, the pride of the Imperial Navy, are being destroyed in mere minutes. He had prepared for war with precision, for months of calculated strikes. But now, strategy is meaningless. Only survival remains. The first wave of dive bombers, having struck their targets, pull upward through smoke and anti-aircraft fire, circling to regroup. The damage is catastrophic. Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu are burning uncontrollably. The Pacific, vast and cold, reflects the flames, turning waves into rivers of fire. And yet, the final carrier, Hiryu, still floats. Slightly damaged, yes, but intact. A spark of hope. Perhaps the tide can still be reversed. But above, McCluskey's second wave dives once more. 6 minutes may be all it takes. Hiryu shudders as the second wave of dive bombers tears through the morning sky. Smoke from the other 3 carriers makes visibility nearly impossible. Yet the Americans press on with ruthless precision. Bombs streak downward, each one a harbinger of irreversible destruction. The carriers' anti-aircraft guns roar, spitting fire into the air, but accuracy falters amid the chaos. On deck, flight crews scramble. Torpedo bombers are fueled and armed, ready for a counterstrike that may never come. Sailors shout, run, and dive under incoming fire, sweat and soot streaking their faces. The smell of cordite and burning oil is suffocating, mingling with the salt and brine of the sea. Every second stretches into an eternity. Lieutenant Commander McCluskey guides a squadron like a conductor, orchestrating destruction from above. The Dauntless pull into their dives. Pilots grip controls with white-knuckled intensity, eyes locked on the deck below. Time slows. The first bomb strikes the forward elevator Hiryu, sending planes and men flying in a violent ballet. The deck buckles. Fires ignite instantly. The second bomb hits near the aft hangar, igniting fuel stores and detonating munitions. Explosions rock the carrier like thunder. From a bridge, Admiral Nagumo watches his last hope burn. His face is a mask of disbelief and horror. The pride of the Imperial Navy, the culmination of years of planning, training, and strategy, is collapsing before his eyes. Every sailor, every plane, every piece of steel he has commanded seems to scream in agony. Below decks, sailors fight to control the flames. Water hoses erupt, but fuel-fed fires defy containment. Screams echo through the corridors. Some attempt to abandon ship, leaping into the oil-slicked sea, only to be dashed against debris or burned by floating wreckage. Chaos reigns, yet discipline still flickers in small acts of heroism. On the horizon, other Japanese ships attempt rescue operations, but their efforts are hampered by debris, smoke, and confusion. The Pacific becomes a mosaic of fire, oil, and wreckage. The calculated certainty of victory is gone, replaced by terror, desperation, and disbelief. From the air, McCluskey watches as the final bombs hit. Hiryu catches fire across multiple decks. Smoke spirals upward like black towers, visible for miles. Sailors and pilots cling to life as the carrier lurches, listing, almost tipping into the sea. The dream of Japanese supremacy, long believed inevitable, is collapsing in real time. The American planes climb away, engines screaming, eyes scanning for new targets. The destruction of the 4 carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, has taken mere minutes. Yet the impact of this 6-minute sequence will ripple across the Pacific for years. In the calm that follows, only burning wrecks float among the waves. Survivors cling to life, waterlogged, scorched, terrified. The once proud Imperial Navy has been shattered in a matter of moments. Somewhere, amidst the flames and chaos, a lone sailor whispers, We have lost everything." And across the Pacific, the balance of power begins to shift irrevocably. Hours later, the smoke still rises from the Pacific, blotting the sky in towering black plumes. The water is slick with oil, streaked with floating debris and fragments of aircraft. The sun glints off twisted metal. The only remnants of the carriers that had once represented Japan's unquestioned dominance. For those watching from surviving ships, the scale of the disaster is almost impossible to comprehend. Survivors cling to rafts and makeshift debris, faces streaked with soot and salt water. Some are silent, staring at the fire-scarred horizon, while others wail, calling for comrades who will never answer. Medical teams work frantically to pull sailors from the water, their hands slick, hearts pounding, as each life rescued feels like a miracle. The sea, once a path to conquest, has become a graveyard. Admiral Nagumo retreats to the bridge of Hiryu. Face pale, eyes hollow, the reality he had never imagined sinks in. His four-carrier fleet, the pride of the Imperial Navy, has been destroyed in 6 short minutes. Calculations, confidence, and planning are meaningless in the face of precision, courage, and timing. The Japanese assumption of inevitable victory has been shattered. Across the Pacific, American sailors and pilots are exhausted, adrenaline still coursing, yet a grim satisfaction anchors them. They know the risk they took was immense. One misstep could have been catastrophic, but the payoff is historic. The destruction of the carriers not only saves Midway Atoll, but turns the tide of the war in the Pacific. For the first time, the Japanese advance has been stopped, and the initiative belongs to the Allies. As night falls, the burning silhouettes of Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu continue to smolder. Hiryu drifts, damaged and vulnerable, a final testament to both human courage and hubris. The Pacific will never be the same. Naval supremacy is no longer guaranteed, and the myth of invincibility lies in ruins, floating in the waves alongside those who survived. Historians later reflect on those 6 minutes with disbelief. Precision, bravery, and timing aligned perfectly to achieve the impossible. The battle did not just sink ships. It sank an era of arrogance, forever rewriting the strategic map of the Pacific War. Every pilot, sailor, and officer involved in that morning witnessed history unfold in real time, a drama of fire, smoke, and courage that still resonates decades later. For Japan, it is a painful lesson in hubris, speed, and underestimating an opponent. For the Allies, it is proof that courage, timing, and audacity can defy expectation. The Midway engagement becomes a turning point, not measured in days or weeks, but in the 6 minutes that change the Pacific forever. And as the smoke clears, the realization settles. Victory is never certain until it is seized.